Hi everyone, so I want to discuss Tales of the Jedi, which came out all at once on October 26, 2022. When I say that it came out all at once, I mean that all the episodes came out, well, on one day. It didn't take, it wasn't a weekly series, which was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do appreciate that. So it's a 6 episode series with the first episode focusing on Sakutano, and quite literally when she's a baby, when she was born, and the lead up to the discovery that she's a Jedi, or that she's force sensitive, with the next three focusing on Count Dooku, the first of which is about Count Dooku and his Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn. The following focusing on Count Dooku and Mace Windu investigating the death of a Jedi Master. With the next one being Count Dooku speaking with Palpatine with the review that he's now working with him. But the last two focusing on Ahsoka Tano. Practice makes perfect. The reason why I'm mentioning that by name is because we'll discuss that shortly. With the last one being focusing on Ahsoka Tano when after she's left the, well, spoilers, but after she's left the Jedi Order, and essentially after the empire has been established as well. So what I really appreciate about this series, I'm going to focus first on Count Dooku, and tells in the same way that the Clone Wars really helps to flesh out Count Dooku's character for Episode 3. Tales of the Jedi does a great job of fleshing out his character for Episode 2. And despite not being present in Episode 1, it's going to be really interesting when I rewatch Episode 1, knowing, when I did rewatch, I just give me pardon, that was a hiccup. I did rewatch Episode 1 after seeing Tales of the Jedi, and it was quite intriguing to think that off the scenes, off the camera, Count Dooku was already, concerned about Qui-Gon. So again, spoilers. When he gets killed by Darth Maul. But that's what I mean about this. This series does a great job of fleshing out Count Dooku's character beyond just the Clone Wars. When I say Clone Wars, I don't mean the series, but I'm talking about, that was chapstick. I'm talking about the war itself. It does a great job of going beyond just the war at Episode 3. We actually get some more insight about Count Dooku during the era of Episode 1. Actually, even beyond before that, because of his Qui-Gon being a Padawan. And it was actually really fun and despairing to see the fall of Count Dooku. Surprisingly, I was very neutral about him as a character, and I now very much love the character. He's one of my favorites now, Count Dooku, and the reason being because I think he's a tragic character. And like a lot of characters in Star Wars, I think there's many tragic characters, and it's all due, pardon me, there's a lot of tragic characters in Star Wars, and it's all due because of Palpatine, the way that he manipulates people. And again, I'm definitely going to do a thinking about video about Palpatine because, well, I do want to discuss him, but let's not discuss him yet or now. And it's just so disheartening to see how Count Dooku, I truly believe, and I think I have mentioned this in previous videos, that if the Empire had, if he had survived long enough to see the creation of the Empire, he would have abandoned it and joined the Rebel Alliance, or at the very least helped some rebelled or resisted in his own way against the Empire, because we find out that Count Dooku very much was an individual who cared about the people. He was dismayed by the fact that the Jedi Order was too closely intertwined with the Galactic Republic, or with the Senate more specifically. And unfortunately, the Jedi Order was not really working for the people, but more for the politicians or the senators. And excuse me, pardon me, that's kind of embarrassing. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. But before I continue, I'm recovering from a cold, so my nose is a little bit stuffy. Before I continue, though, I do want to just highlight that I don't think the Jedi Order is totally at fault. They certainly are culpable in the decline of the Republic, but I think in this instance, the reason why the Republic is failing the people is because of its politicians, its people. And I don't want to get political, and I'm not going to do any political videos on my channel, but I think it's important to take note or highlight that even within this fantasy world, this science fiction world, the reason why there's the reason why there's disdain, corruption, and just a lack of real assistance is because of supposed politicians who are supposed to work for the people, but they're not working for the people. And I think the first episode with Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn really does a great job of demonstrating that within the Star Wars galaxy. And unfortunately, I would say that that's also applicable to outside of that as well. But with that being said, the reason why I don't want to absolve the Jedi Order, I just want to make it clear that, again, while they are culpable, the main culprit in this instance is, I think, the Senate, the Galactic Senate, or the Republic Senate. Again, the senators are the ones who are unfortunately not listening to the voices of the people, and the Jedi Order, the reason why they're not helping, they would help if they could, but they don't because they're just too rigid. They're too traditional. And that's what I mean when I say that they're culpable. We see this in the following episode with Count Dooku and Mace Windu, and the fact that if they had listened to Mace Windu, more than likely the the true murderer of the true murder, pardon me, the true murderer of the Master Kesto, I believe her name was, would have been allowed to get away because, of course, it would have so much time to get rid of the evidence. The only reason why they found the truth of the matter was because of Count Dooku and his quote unquote stubbornness. I think in this instance, stubborn shouldn't be viewed as negatively, but because he insisted and going further upon discovering the truth about this mystery. Had Count Dooku decided to listen to Mace Windu, it would have remained a mystery. And again, the only reason why Mace Windu did not want to go further is not because he didn't want to. He just wanted to get permission first from the Jedi Council. So that's what I mean when I say that it's not the Jedi Council 100% at fault, but they certainly are culpable. Excuse me, that was a hiccup. Pardon me. They certainly are culpable, though. And that's why it's so disheartening to see that, unfortunately, Count Dooku ends up falling in line with Darth Sidious. And it's just sad to see because of the fact that, again, the Emperor, or Palpatine, obviously I combined Palpatine and Emperor, the way he manipulates people. And he took this Jedi Knight who did want to do good and corrupted him to become a Sith Lord. And even Count Dooku states within that episode that he sacrificed everything, his friends, his ideology, and his place within society, and in order to help Palpatine. And at that point, I think it's really poignant, the fact when he's fighting against Master Yaddle, who discovers the truth, when she gets crushed and she raises the blast doors, the light blinds Count. Pardon me, I don't know why I'm confusing their names. The light, the sunlight, or the sunset blinds Palpatine. He literally flinches and looks away, while Count Dooku, he's just standing there looking at Master Yaddle. And I think that does a great job of symbolically representing that episode was the final moment where Count Dooku had a choice to either go back, I won't say the Jedi Order, but to go back to what he really wanted versus going down the path that unfortunately leads to himself getting beheaded and being used by Palpatine. And it was just really great, and it does a great job of fleshing out. I know I already said this, and I'm repeating myself, but it's just so true. It does a great job of extrapolating Count Dooku's character. And now when I rewatch Episode 1, again, even though Count Dooku's not part of the story, I won't be thinking about him. And then when I rewatch Episode 2, I'm going to see that what he tells Obi-Wan, he is being honest, that he's doing what he's doing for the benefit of the people and for the Republic as well. So yeah, with that being said, we've discussed Count Dooku. We could go ahead and move on to Ahsoka Tano. And it does again begin with their episode. I'm not gonna lie, the first one was fun, but I mean, it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't boring. It was entertaining. But the one that I really want to talk about is the last two. Practice makes perfect. And the reason why I know it by the title name is because I looked it up beforehand. And it was just such a great episode. What made it so amazing is because it also does a great job of fleshing out Ahsoka Tano's character. This episode fleshes her out. And the fact, when I rewatched the Clone Wars, the series, it's always been in the back of my mind the fact that she's a young individual, yet she's fighting in a war. That's really dangerous. How she has a great Jedi Master who has allowed her to survive. Has taught her the skills to survive on the battlefield. And we see that within this episode, that's in fact the case. Anakin Skywalker is not impressed by Ahsoka passing a simple test because of the fact that all Jedi could do it. And so because of that, Skywalker ends up setting up a test with the 501st, specifically with Captain Rex, Jesse, and others, I'm sure, to help her to increase her defensive capabilities. I went like this because I was doing excuse me, that's a hiccup, the Clone Trooper gun. And of course, I'm a huge Clone Trooper fan, and at first I thought, oh my gosh, she better not be able to deflect their boats, right? They're Clone Troopers, the 501st, and thankfully she's not successful, and she actually they don't show any success within her training sequence. And the episode ends with Captain Rex, with the final season, the episode where she steps outside after Order 66 has been executed, and Jesse's hunting her, unfortunately, and Captain Rex is pretending to hold her, had to have caught her. And before those doors open, it gets revealed that he tells her, "Let's hope all that training has paid off." And I'm actually getting the chills when I said that, just because, again, more characters that were just manipulated and used by the Emperor, by Palpatine, and it just does such a great job of making the viewer understand how Ahsoka Tano was able to survive. And even though it wasn't the focus, the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka and the clone troopers, a really great episode. If one is not interested in the series, at the very least they should watch Practice Makes Perfect, especially if they've seen the Clone Wars. And then the season ends with an episode focusing on Ahsoka Tano post Order 66, post the creation, post the fall of the Republic and the creation of the Empire. And it's a great episode. It really shows us, I believe it's meant to be like a segue between the animated series and the live action series, which will be coming out for Ahsoka Tano. I believe it's coming out this year. And it does a great job of because at the end of the series, she essentially gives up her role as an active agent, as in helping individuals. I mean, she does help people, but as in participating in the war and participating in any kind of resistance. And this episode does a great job of showing us why she decides to essentially pick up her lightsaber again, symbolically, and to get back into the fight, to get back into the resistance, the rebellion. And yeah, that's the only episode that really fleshes out the character post episode 3, post the Clone Wars, as not the show, but as in the war. And yeah, with that said, I want to end this by just stating that Dave Filoni, and including him, Tony Gilroy, and I believe his brother as well. I don't know his brother's name, but another Gilroy. In addition to that, Charles Murray, it was the co-creator of Tales of the Jedi. I have to say that my favorite properties from Disney Star Wars has been these things that these individuals have created. I really enjoyed Andor. I appreciated Tales of the Jedi, and I'm now looking forward to Ahsoka Tano, the live series, only because of the fact that Dave Filoni is helming the project. What does concern me is the fact that Kevin Feige, he will be assisting with that show as well. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Kevin Feige. I did watch the season 1 of the Mandalorian, of the Mandalorian, and I thought it was just an okay season, not bad, but nor great. Everyone was making it seem like it was Game of Thrones in the Star Wars universe in terms of like season 1 of Game of Thrones in terms of quality. But again, I didn't hate it, nor did I dislike it, but it was just okay. And in season 2, unfortunately, I don't think it kept up the quality, and I haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett. But yeah, so the reason why I really appreciate these individuals is because, again, from what I've seen from them, I really like the stories they have to tell. And I'm going to, anything that they produce, even if it's not related to the Clone Wars or to the characters that I enjoy, like as a good example would be Andor, I would watch it from these individuals because they do a good job with storytelling. So that's everything. If anyone has seen it, what would I recommend this show? Yes, I would. If you are a fan of the Clone Wars, if you are a fan of Star Wars in general, I would highly recommend it, especially if you have seen the Clone Wars, the animated series. This, again, does a great job of going into further in depth into 2 characters, Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku. Before I leave off, though, I am going to include at the end of this video, I did do a smaller video, so I'm not going to lie, I was getting ready for my job, and I did my best to make a video before going to my job, and it was just too quick, I didn't like it, but instead of just deleting it and getting rid of it, I decided just to combine it with this video. Yeah, so after I'll just say my greetings, not my greetings, but my farewells, that's going to start after that. Pardon me, excuse me, that was a hiccup. So thank you so much for sticking along with me. If you do want to have a conversation about the Tales of the Jedi, please feel free to shoot me a message or put something in the comments down below. Have a great day, and I hope that we could have a conversation in the future, or maybe even today. Take care. Oh, and also may the Force be with you. Sorry, because I said that in the original video, and yeah, I do mean it. May the Force be with you. Take care. Hi everyone, so today I want to discuss Tales of the Jedi, which released in all the episodes released on one day on October 26, 2022. So, my animated journey with Star Wars has been really interesting because I did watch Clone Wars and then it got canceled and the final season got brought up. I did watch the final missions on Netflix. And then Tales of the Jedi, I never thought that I'd be watching anything animated in terms of Star Wars again. Well, I did watch Rebels, but to be frank, I was not the biggest fan of Rebels. But the reason why I decided to check out Tales of the Jedi was the fact that I heard a lot of fans saying that it does a great job of fleshing out Count Dooku's character. And in addition to that, also Ahsoka Tano's character too. And after watching it, I have to agree. I completely agree with that sentiment. And in fact, in terms of, it is true, Count Dooku is, I would say, he shines the most in this, I believe it's 7 episodes, this 7-episode series. Yes, 7. Count Dooku has 4, while Ahsoka has 3. But despite that, it really does build up her character as well. They did, when I say they, I mean Dave Filoni. He created Tales of the Jedi. Actually, let me quickly double check that. Pardon me. Tales of the Jedi. Dave Filoni, in addition to Charles Morey. Pardon me, I just want to make sure I get the appropriate credit. And I have to say, after watching Tales of the Jedi, I realized that I think anything that Filoni, in addition to Gilroy and now Maury creates, I think I'm a fan of it. I also really enjoyed Andor, and Gilroy did work with Filoni for the Clone Wars. I have to check it to Maury. But so far, the properties that these individuals have produced, I've been huge fans of them. And I'm really looking forward to the fact that Ahsoka Tano, the series, the live action series, is going to be made by Dave Filoni. That gives me some hope. I'm not going to lie though, and in addition to Filoni, Kevin Feige, I believe his name is, he's also helming Ahsoka Tano, and that does give me some concern. I'm not the biggest fan of Filoni I'm not the biggest fan of Feige when it comes to his work with Star Wars. The first season of The Mandalorian was, I think, okay. It wasn't as amazing as a lot of people make it seem to be. I think Andor was much better. And then the second season was definitely not as great as the first season. That's what I mean when I said I think Filoni, Charles Morey, and Tony Gilroy and his brother, I believe. So far, I'm really enjoying what came out from them. And I do highly recommend, if you have any desire to watch Tales of the Jedi, to do so. Because when you watch the Clone Wars, the television series, and also episode 3 and episode 2, it's really awesome just knowing that these characters have been fleshed out. And in fact, even though Count Dooku is not in episode 1, there is a little snippet in one of the episodes from Tales of the Jedi that takes place during episode 1. And it just really does add a lot to it. I really appreciate it. I know I've been focusing on Count Dooku. If one has seen the Clone Wars and they've also seen the final season, then episode 6, episode 6, the one starring Ahsoka Tano, I believe it's called Practice. Actually, since I have it right here, let me just quickly. Practice makes perfect. Despite Count Dooku's episodes, I think, being the highlight of this season, or rather Count Dooku's character benefiting the most from this season, I do believe that episode, Practice Makes Perfect, is possibly the best episode of Tales of the Jedi, only because it does such a fantastic job of showing us why Tano survived the Clone Wars. Because it is, I'm sure some of us had in the back of our mind, she's just a young individual. She started the Clone Wars not even as a young woman. I believe she was in her teenage years. And by the end of the show, she's now a young woman. And Practice Makes Perfect shows us how Ahsoka Tano survived against battle droids, and minor spoilers, but against the 501st Clone Troopers when Order 66 commenced. And the last 3 or so minutes of Practice Makes Perfect ties in so beautifully into the final season once Order 66 commences. So again, I highly do recommend Tales of the Jedi. If anyone has any reservations, because I know Star Wars hasn't really been the best, that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to watch it. It's now February, the 1st of February. I watched Tales of the Jedi about a week ago, so towards the end of January, and this came out in October. So it took me about 3 months or so to finally give this show a chance. The only reason why I gave it a chance was not because of the opinions that I was hearing, was because I was watching Clone Wars, and that's what pushed me. And it was really fantastic. I'm glad that I did. This show came right after. So before this, there was Andor, and then Tales of the Jedi came out, and both really fun Star Wars properties. Andor is another, I'm going to have to rewatch that before I do a review for it, or if not, I'll do a thinking about video. But definitely, I highly recommend Tales of the Jedi. I highly recommend the Clone Wars. And once one has watched those two properties, then for sure rewatch episode 3 and even episode 2. And if one feels daring, then episode 1 as well. Thank you so much for listening to my thoughts, everyone. If you have if you have anything that you noticed yourself, you want to discuss it with me. Pardon me, I know why I'm stumbling over my words. If you noticed any details that you want to discuss with me, please feel free to do so either via private messages or in the chat below. I'm always open for conversations about about anything pop culture related, not just Star Wars. Again, thank you. May the Force be with you, and take care.